It sounds like it was a pretty lengthy interview process. Tell us how you ended up landing on Travis Green.
Yeah, so I think lengthy is probably a good way to put it. I think when I decided to make the coaching change mid-season, you're always in the process of evaluating, but had a longer runway. Having Jacques Martin come in and right the ship for the last half of the season, but looked around and really, I mean, you go through these processes and you get to talk to some, great coaches, great leaders, and really it comes down to the fit. Like all these gentlemen can coach, and the fit with Travis, as I was going through the process, it just kept landing back on Travis for all the right reasons. And again, you go through these processes where you're looking for a coach, and sometimes, you have people available, but they might not be a great fit. But I think us landing on Travis, I think, is perfect for our group.
Stevie, you've mentioned the age of the group, and they're young guys, and they've got to turn the corner. Who is the most important person in the organization for that to happen? Is it Travis? Is it you for what you put around them? Who is the most important factor or person to help the change?
I mean, it's a good question, O'Doug, but it's a shared responsibility. I don't, I think it's including the players. I think we all have to continue to drive ourselves to get better, but I don't manage by hiring a head coach and just telling him to figure it out. I think that there's areas in our organization and, on our roster where I need to help the coach, and the coach has to come in, and Travis has to come in and certainly be direct with his messaging and, firm with his approach and create that environment for the players as well. But it's a shared responsibility. I think that the head coach has the most direct impact on the group. And I believe in Travis, and I think that just going through this interview process and his approach, and his experience, I think when you look at, we're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs right now, and there's a few coaches in there that, everybody would love to have, and they're coaching contending teams now. And, when I look back on it, when I look at their careers, they're in a similar situation after Travis's first go around. And I do think that you improve as a coach, and you have the ability to learn from those experiences. And, we're excited about the future.
What is it that Travis Green maybe sold to you guys in terms of what he's going to attack, first and foremost? The one thing he feels he can change, that he has to change, that obviously, yourself and your staff were believers in?
Well, I think he's a lot more firm than he gets credit for. I think in watching him coach and, watching his demeanor, the one area I think that he's a very demanding coach, but he also has the ability to communicate. And I think that's important. For any team in any age, but especially where we are in our growth as a group. So that was really intriguing to me. I don't think, if you ask Travis, I don't think there's one area, Brian, but I think that just overall, I think what we want to do is we want to raise the standards of how we do things. Again, I think Jacques did a great job of being able to set those standards in the back half of the year on some of the details. And I like the way we were playing, as we're closing out the season from that perspective. So, but I don't think there's one area for Travis to go into and look at. I think overall, I think he's going to come in and be demanding for this group. He's going to expect a lot from them, and we're hoping the results follow.
You hear a lot of talk about coaches that are out there, that are available, and a lot of them seem to have the same qualities, maybe just different experiences. Former players, guys that are firm, accountability seems to be a word that gets thrown around. But also you have to be progressive to work with the newer athlete, today's athlete. Is that some of the stuff that, Travis had checked those boxes and you kept coming back to Travis in that scenario, Steve?
It's exactly it, Noodles. I really do think that, the firm and hard approach for it to be lasting, I think that there has to be a level of communication and understanding, and that's how you get buy-in from the athlete. Any generation. I mean, we were a little bit different when we were going through it, but certainly with this generation, I think that there's, and for all the right reasons, I think holding them accountable, but having them understand why, and that team first attitude is what we want to bring here. And I think that's a sweet spot for Travis. You know, he worked with a group in Vancouver around the same sort of part of their growth and development. And I think to me, he has the ability to be able to hold the players accountable with a great line of communication to them as well.
Stevie, we talk about it all the time. Why do you think there's so many coaches being replaced in today's age? Like, why does that happen? Is it just because it's kind of the easiest thing to do? You can't move out players?
Well, it's a good question. I think, you know, you talk about shelf life with coaches, and I think the messaging to the group sometimes, unfortunately, just it grinds on them, and a new voice seems to have that effect that you're looking for as a manager to bring.
Well, we also mentioned that,
going.
Stevie. It's just like the one reason is because you generally see the response right after. Like there's just, you look at the Edmonton Oilers this year. The Kings picked it up. It's like they do get a response, which is a scary thing for the coaches.
It really is, and I think they know what they've signed up for to a certain degree as well. But it's
sure.
You know, that coaching bump is real, and it happens. And I mean, I could even take you back to when I was making the decision to bring Jacques in. But we weren't looking for a coaching bump. I was looking for more of a stabilizing type of. So I guess it's all in what you look for and where your group is, and that's up to me to be able to assess exactly what we need. So. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough profession. It's a great profession. You're part psychologist, strategist, your mentor, your coach. It's a challenging job. As far as moving players out, you're right. I mean, there's part of that as well, where you know, you have players on long-term contracts, and that becomes a factor. So you look for ways to be able to ignite your group, and I guess unfortunately for coaches is you do have that turnover.
With Steve Staios of the Ottawa Senators, I'm curious, you know, the messaging from your standpoint, from Travis's standpoint to the fans, where, you know, Michael Andlauer just got the team a year ago. You just got here less than a year ago. Your staff has just been assembled. Now Greeny's there. So from your standpoint, new ownership, new coach, new management, like the clock is just kind of ticking, and it just got started. But as you know, there's long-standing fans there that they don't look at it that way. They just look at the team, and the team hasn't been in the playoffs in a long time. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious how you marry that, Steve, like, you know, trying to allow people to, you know, be frustrated and understand that obviously it hasn't been good enough, yet you guys are just getting started. So how do you marry the two, and what kind of messaging do you have for your fans when they recognize you just got there, but they've been here before you and they want some success?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do feel for them, but it's a balance as far as messaging. But I continue to think, Bryan, just make sure you're doing what's right. And sometimes I think you can get in these situations where you react quickly, you make rash decisions. You know, I think we've proven here, myself and Pooley and Michael, on making sure that the strategy is right and not do anything rash. We want to build this thing so we can not only get to the successful level that we want to get to, but have it sustainable as well. And I think far too many times, if you look back, you know, teams can make quick decisions and to try and get a boost right away. But again, the goal here is to make sure that we do things right, and keeping the thought of trying to get there quickly. Like, we really want to be urgent in our approach, but certainly we have to have the long-term view in sight as well.
We all love Brady Tkachuk. We talk about him all the time. We love watching him play, and you know, he's a throwback. He's an old-school guy, and he's your captain. Fights a lot, though. You know, showed a lot of emotion, maybe some frustration down the stretch. Where like, how much do you lean on him, considering he's still a young guy? but he's capable of playing every possible way the game, is going to be played. But to keep the emotions in check, is that something that you kind of need from him, or do you like that he's just going out there and, he's going to lay it on the line and let people know how he feels?
I mean, I think we all love that about Brady. He brings it every night and every shift, and we're trying to build around that. We're trying to build around that attitude that he brings to the game, and he's still maturing as well. And I think that he is so driven and brings it every night, and that we want to make sure that he continues to do that and build around him to support that. And I think with Travis coming in and being able to lead and mentor the group and our leadership in particular, but we are a relatively young, we are a young group, and I know it's not, it's hard to win in this league, as you see, but our average age, we're in the top 5 youngest teams in the league, and so I think Brady needs that support. I think Travis, as a leader, will continue to help him develop and bring that support for him. But I mean, as far as you don't want him to go out there and fight all the time, for sure. But he competes so hard and wants it so badly that it's inevitable for him. But no, we're proud to have him as our captain.
Steve, everybody talks that it's a copycat league. If you could take something out of what you've seen so far out of the first round and heading into the second round and apply it to your group, what would you see from the way that some of these teams are built?
Well, built and how they play with details, Noodles. It's crazy. I mean, there's no room on the ice, and that's playoff hockey. And so I think the level of detail that goes into it, and it's the best. I mean, the competitiveness of the Stanley Cup playoffs, it just brings the best out of everybody. But for me, I've said it. I'd like to add, some veteran type of players. And you talk about Brady Tkachuk, and you want him to have that support from a leadership standpoint. I mean, it's a challenge. It's hard to find those types of players, and when teams have them, they want to keep them. But it would be good for this group. There's so much room for this group to continually grow internally. I need to help try and support that with what I do. Travis has his work to do with the group, but really, I just think that as they grow internally with more experience and become veterans in their own right, it would be nice to have some players with that scar tissue in and around them to help guide them along as well.
Well, congrats on getting this first step done with Travis here. I'm sure are you preparing for a really active off season? I mean, you guys now know where you're going to pick in the draft and all that. Like, how much activity should Sens fans, NHL fans be expecting out of you guys in the next few months?
Well, we certainly have some goals in mind on what we want to do, but we were active at the deadline as well, and there wasn't anything that made sense. And going back to my point before, to make a deal just to make a deal is not what I want to do. I want to make sure that it's right. So we're going to pursue it. We'll pursue it hard on what we've prioritized as far as maybe adding to this roster. So hard to really tell how active we'll be. We'll certainly be active in discussions and pursuing it, but hopefully we get some things done that can help stabilize our group leading into the season.